leaders of the Rotary movement, ladies and gentlemen, my greetings to all the Rotarians present today. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to engage with such a diverse set of people coming from all walks of life, but with a common intention to place service before self. As a member of Rotary myself, the Bombay Pier Club, I'm delighted to be amongst friends and colleagues, particularly from Mumbai, my home city, with whom I have traveled this journey of Rotary and service. India today is coping with the impact of the second wave. But I think the collective efforts of all people in this group, in this room, and the people of India have helped the country face this challenge, go forward, made some outstanding progress in this global effort. And we were able to bring the whole world together to fight collectively against this next challenge before the world. In fact, I remember at Paris, literally all the countries of the world were vying for Prime Minister Modi's attention and leadership to find solutions to a problem that had evaded a solution for 20 years before that. I remember the number of meetings that were held with different world leaders. In fact, I recall an incident where President Obama and Prime Minister Modi were to meet. And because Prime Minister Modi had another engagement with the Japanese Prime Minister, the meeting had to be rescheduled a little bit, which left us some time before Prime Minister Modi would come into the meeting. And President Obama came out of his holding room and started chatting with the then Environment Minister, Prakash Javadekar, and he's also holding the portfolio now, and me, almost for 30 minutes. And tall, imposing personality that he is, he had one hand on my shoulder and one on Prakashji's shoulder, both of us from Maharashtra, incidentally, and was discussing with us and trying to share with us his serious concerns and the important role that India can play going forward in addressing this big challenge. Believe me, it was very empowering and very, very exciting to see that a world leader of his stature saw India as the solution going forward. And for so many years, the world always looked upon India as a part of the problem. But the reality is, India is the solution, and India will find the solutions to this very, very challenging problem of climate change. There was a time when we were being seen as a naysayer, whereas today, India is taking world leadership in addressing this challenge before the world. We all are aware that India never contributed to this problem in the first place. Our own share of carbon emissions is only 1.7 tons per capita per year, well below the global average of about 5 or 6 tons per year, and significantly lower than the United States, Australia, Canada, all the developed countries, which are well above 16 metric tons per year per capita consumption of carbon space. India is making significant effort to address the problem, maintain our climate goals, keep our carbon emissions under control, and are working on sustainable solutions for a better tomorrow, both for the people of India and for the rest of the world. In fact, it is this very high indiscriminate use of carbon by the developed world, for which it was a very low-cost energy solution at that point of time, the Industrial Revolution particularly, that actually helped them develop their economies, give a better life to the people of the developed world. But in the process, nearly 50% of the carbon, which has damaged the ozone layer, comes from the developed world. Therefore, the Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi in Paris, came out with a very new concept of climate justice and sustainable lifestyle. And I'm delighted to share with you that this was accepted in Paris by the entire world. There has to be climate justice. Countries which are in the development cycle, the less developed countries, have to be given carbon space and an opportunity to develop their own economies for prosperity of the people who have been deprived of economic development for so many years. In fact, I don't know if any of you recalls Vice President Gore had come out with his treatise or his book, The Inconvenient Truth, sometime in 2006. That time the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And he came out with his own version, Convenient Action. And that's what he deeply believes in. That is at the core of the philosophy of all Indians. There is a problem, but visionary leadership is reflected in addressing that problem, not fighting shy of it. He strongly believes that the globe and all countries will have to act decisively, and India, in that sense, is taking rapid strides to find sustainable solutions to address this challenge of climate change. In fact, when a press person had once asked Prime Minister Modi, around the time when the US and China had agreed on a climate deal, sometime in January of 2015, whether India will like to make a similar commitment, Prime Minister Modi said, and I'd like to quote, "India is a sovereign country. No pressure from any country or any pressure has any effect on India. But there is pressure about what kind of earth we shall leave for the future generations. Climate change itself is a very big pressure. And whoever worries about the future generations has a responsibility to be conscious about climate change." I'm sharing this perspective to show you how addressing and combating climate change is not something India does out of compulsion, but it is an article of faith for all of us Indians. And I assure you that we will all work together, you, me, the entire nation, to find solutions, implement solutions, and save our children from the very, very serious consequences that climate change can cause to countries, more particularly to developing countries. In fact, mobility, I'm given to understand, causes almost 1/4, 23% of the impact that we have seen due to climate change. 23% of global pollution comes out of mobility, transportation. And therefore, global solutions and domestic solutions for reducing greenhouse gas emissions due to mobility have to be found, have to be worked upon. It also accounts for almost half of the current global nitrogen oxide emissions and dust emissions. Therefore, India, in different ways, be it the road transport, be it railways, in every respect, is taking rapid strides to address this challenge. As you are all aware, I'm also the Railway Minister of India. And the railways is working on a mission mode to contribute significantly for sustainability as the largest transporter of goods and people in the country. Since 2014, we have embarked on a series of measures to help reduce the impact of carbon dioxide, the impact of carbon emissions on the globe, on India and on all Indians, to reduce pollution. And therefore, I'll just give you a glimpse of some of the transformational initiatives that we are taking in the railways, which I do hope will make you proud about the way Prime Minister Modi and the government of India, along with the people of India, the several states, are focused on this subject. Take the electrification of railway for an example. There is no railway of the size of Indian railways anywhere in the world which is electrified completely. In fact, probably I'm told, subject to verification, that a railway like the United States Railway has single-digit level of electrification. Obviously, they find availability of diesel so cheap that they are able to get away with it. And for them, probably the concerns of climate change have not yet reached their railway systems. India also went through electrification before 2014, but would do at an average about 600 kilometers every year. We changed all of that. Prime Minister Modi took a conscious decision that we will be the world's first railway of this size and scale. We have about 130,000 track kilometers all across the country. He said we will be the world's first large railway to be 100% electrified and becoming diesel booked, free of diesel, reducing pollution very, very significantly, bringing down the cost of our operations, saving money in terms of diesel consumption, reducing our foreign exchange burden on importing crude oil, and helping our cities and our countryside getting rid of the problem of pollution coming out of the old diesel locomotives, and will be 100% electric railway by December 2023, barely 2.5 years from now. Ladies and gentlemen, last year was a COVID year, but the Indian Railways electrified 6,000 kilometers in only 1 year, despite the challenges of COVID, in the effort to achieve our goal within the time frame, possibly even a few months earlier. We are now about 70% electrified. We are doing it very systematically, route by route, so that trains get converted to electric locomotive. We have significantly ramped up our electric locomotive program, ramped up our electrification program, reduced our diesel consumption. And by 23, you will be proud to be the owner, as a citizen of India, of the world's first fully electrified rail. That doesn't end there. By December 2030, in the next 7 years thereafter, Indian Railway will move to using only renewable energy. We will convert all our systems so that our dependence on coal-based power will be brought to near zero, and we will become a net zero railway, the first in the world by 2030. Something which will be transformational and have a significant impact towards sustainability. In fact, there are many other steps. We've moved all our railway systems to LEDs. We have removed all toilets from the past. Every train now has a bio toilet. And I don't know if you recall how terrible it was. The excreta all across the tracks, all across the country, the bad smell, the foul feeling while traveling in the railways. I would dare say you will get no smell, no foul smell anywhere in the railways today, because in the last 7 years, we have converted all toilets to bio toilets. No excreta is put out on the tracks. It's improved safety. It's reduced the methane gases emission, uric acid on the track, the excreta on the track. It used to be almost 4,000 plus tons of excreta every single day on the tracks of the Indian Railways, and about 2.74 lakh liters being shoved on the tracks. All of that is history, ladies and gentlemen. We have today a Swachh railway. Our stations are clean, toilets well maintained, and railways working as a soldier in this fight against climate change, in improving our railway system to make it more contemporary, more modern, and several other steps. I could go on maybe for half an hour, 45 minutes talking only of the railways. One more small step I will share with you to all of those who recognize that water is an important element of climate change. Our rail coaches traveling long distances get really dirty. A lot of muck and a lot of dust accumulates on the coaches. They were traditionally being cleaned with water jets, consuming huge amounts of water. I think nearly 15,000 liters for every coach. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been now able to save 96% of that. We have started setting up mechanized coach washing plants, by which we brought down the consumption to about 20%, and we recycle about 75-80% of that 20% by recycling it and reusing it in the automatic coach washing plants. So effectively, 15,000 liters has come down to only 600 liters every time it goes into a wash. These are small steps, but will have transformational impact on sustainability. In fact, we are trying a new experiment. I hope it's successful. And at some stage, I would urge Rotary to take it up. It's about our garbage collection system. When I was at Harvard way back in 2013, studying for a management program, while I used to take my evening walks, I saw dustbins of a little bit of a different kind all across the Harvard campus. On a detailed inspection, I realized they were not ordinary dustbins. They had a solar panel on top. They had a compacting system in that. And periodically, they would compact all the garbage so that every dustbin could hold actually 7 or 8 times the original garbage holding capacity. Now look at the transformational impact, ladies and gentlemen. A, brings down the number of dustbins that are required. B, helps improve cleanliness. If there is an opportunity to throw your garbage somewhere, one normally would do it. C, the trucks which come to collect the garbage now have to come only 1 out of 8 times rather than coming 8 times to remove the garbage out of that can. 4, the disposal of that waste is easier. It can go into a waste to energy plant or maybe a waste to biofertilizer plant and get used in a compressed form. It has multifarious dimensions. I'm only sharing this with you to tell you how we need holistic, comprehensive solutions and how we are trying to see if we can create some such systems which can help us give facilities in the trains, at the stations for better cleanliness and reduce the impact that all of these garbage-related issues have on the climate. Ladies and gentlemen, on the road traffic, we have significant steps yet to be taken, significant steps already taken. Look at the BS6 specification for fuel. India is among the few countries that is ahead of the time and has accepted BS6 much before many other countries, even in the developed world, have done. Similarly, today, we are working towards an ecosystem that will promote electric vehicles in a big way. Electric vehicles are getting more competitive. Battery prices are coming down. We have had one program called for faster adoption of electric mobility, FAME 1. Now we are in FAME 2. We are looking at setting up charging stations all over the country, almost at every gas station, every petrol pump. We are looking at getting into development of hydrogen as a means of fuel for the future, which will also give us oxygen on the other hand. So it's a holistic effort on road transport to improve the quality of our vehicles, improve the fuel quality. Will by another 2 years from now, we would be blending 20% ethanol in our petrol, which means that much less imports on the one hand, which means that much more money going to the agriculturist, the farmer, whose produce is used to make ethanol, be it molasses, sugar, broken food grains, maize, and reducing pollution by 20% from the automobiles. I do believe the focus on CNG, now ethanol, going forward electricity, going further forward hydrogen, will help us power vehicles in a more sustainable manner. In fact, I personally believe we can also look at, and maybe some Rotarians may like to study it. You remember as kids, we used to go to the amusement park, and there we used to play with the bumpy cars, which had a single connection with a mesh, electric mesh on the top, which used to power those bumpy cars as we drove them. Possibly in our cities, we could look at some kind of a mesh along the road, and vehicles could easily, with a small battery backup, move in and out of lanes, moving into the electric powered lane, recharge their batteries. And as they move out of it, move to battery, switch to battery traction. And on a continuous basis, with very low battery requirement, we could actually see electric vehicles being used for public transport. Buses could work that way very well, especially in the large metropolitan cities. Similarly, look at the impact that shared mobility is having on climate, on sustainability. There was a time where everybody wanted to own a car. We are gradually moving to a situation where shared mobility is becoming the order of the day. In fact, it's moved to two-wheelers also. And I remember an instance, I was in New York and I had a meeting with the CEO of the world's largest fund. And it was a holiday, so he'd flown in from his hometown. He was actually celebrating a Jewish holiday that day. But he flew in, came to meet me. And when he was leaving on courtesy, I came down to leave him at the pier in New York. And I realized he was getting into an Uber. And I said, Larry, where's your car? My car can drop you. I knew